Hey guys, Problem1701 here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Doctor Who Season 15, which of course is the first season with Graham Williams as producer, and it's Tom Baker's fourth season as the Doctor. Season 15 is interesting to me because it really is a mix of adventures. You have a couple stories that fit snugly right, or would have fit snugly right into the Hinchcliffe era, and then you have stories that are very solidly Williams era stories. And that's interesting, the type of mixed stories we get here. And like we start off the season with Horror of Fang Rock, which I do think is the best story of the season. I think it's a really good story. I think it's one of the best post-Hinchcliffe stories in the Tom Baker run. And it feels like a Hinchcliffe story. This is one of those, if you didn't realize it was a Williams era story, you'd be forgiven for that. It fits right in with the Hinchcliffe era. With this, again, it's got that horror gothic theme to it, a lot of atmosphere going on in it. Really, really good story. The way it takes place at night, really well done. Very, very creepy. Just watching the creature slowly pick them off by one as, you know, the Doctor tries to come up with a way to stop it. Again, feels very Hinchcliffe era and very good writing. I believe it's a Terrence Dicks story, actually, if I remember correctly, and Uncle Terrence pretty much always delivers. And then we have Invisible Enemy. Now, this is one of the three Tom Baker stories I haven't seen. Because I haven't seen Invisible Enemy, Nightmare of Eden, and Creature from the Pit. But this one, you know, I hear a lot about it. And it's not one I hear conclusively one way or another. I know some people who like it, some people who don't like it, some people who think it's meh in the middle, and then some people who really don't like it. And then I have some people, they like it just because it's Kay Lyne's first story. So now, between all of those, from the sound of it, it's more often in the not so great category. Maybe not bad, but not so great. I hear that more often than I hear the good category, but it does seem like one of those stories that there's definitely a mix of opinions on. Not quite completely balanced, but I just don't hear like a few people saying it's good and a lot of people saying it's bad. I hear a fair amount of both. So I am actually looking forward to seeing Invisible Enemy just so I can make up my mind for myself what I think of it, because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to jump on that one. Now, Image of the Fendal is another one that really feels like a Hinchcliffe era story. Again, it's got that gothic horror going on to it. For me, the only letdown for this story is the Fendal's final transformation, when it's fully possessed the female scientist, and it's in that form where it's painted gold with the eyes painted on and that little creature hovering behind it. It's not well executed. It looks very lackluster. It doesn't look threatening. It looks kind of silly, especially the painted on eyes. I don't like painted on eyes when they do that in Classic Who. I have the same problem with the Keeper of Traken, when the redhead in the Keeper of Traken shoots the laser out of her eyes. You can tell that she's got her eyes closed and they're just, you know, it's just painted on. It's very blatantly obvious, and it kind of pulls me out of the scene in that story. It's the same thing here. When I see those painted on eyes, it just kind of pulls me out of it. The gold paint looks like gold paint. The creature behind her is not very convincing. That aside, story is great. Love the story. Great on script. Love Tom and Leela in this. Love the fact most of it's taking place at night. Love the actual story of what the Fendal creature is and the way it operates and continues itself and possesses people. The actual story is phenomenal. If it wasn't for that last little bit with the final creature form, this one would probably be just about right up there with Horror of Fang Rock. Again, feels like a Hinchcliffe story. Really well done. Then we have the Sunmakers, which is my second favorite of the season. I love the Sunmakers. I love a good political satire. I'm old enough to appreciate a good political satire, as these days the actual politics feel like a political satire. Bob Holmes was obviously very displeased with his tax man, and this is a great satire on taxes. I love the part when the tax adjudicator or whatever is talking to the guy who gave his dad the golden death. Oh, and then you have this fee for this, and this fee for this, and this fee for this, and oh, you don't have that? Well, don't worry, you can work extra shifts, but we're going to charge you a fee for this. And I'm sitting here going, kind of how taxes work here in the States. Not exactly, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I just think it's a good story. I think Tom Baker is great in this one. I think the story is really good in this one. There's a couple of, like, the one tax adjudicator, he might come across as a little hammy, the way he acts. But again, since it's satire, I think that fits. I think you're not meant to take it 100% seriously once you realize it is indeed satire. The Weasley guy I really like, because I love how he's basically trying to call tax people little puddles of primordial ooze. And they're slimy. And he looks a little weaselly, so he's calling them kind of weasel and weaselly too. I really enjoy that. My first experience with the story was the Target novel. I did read the Target novel first, which is done a little more serious in tone. As they were mentioning on the Terrence and me behind the scenes thing on, what was it, season 14 maybe, I think it was. When a lot of the people were reading through moments from the Target books they liked, I know one of them read from the Sunmakers in the Target novel, and it talks about the scene when the tax adjudicator is killed and how it's done less kind of humor. It's done with more humor in the episode. It's much more done. It's done with a much darker tone in the Target novel. Now, I didn't remember that right off the top of my head because I haven't read the Target novel since like back in the 90s. My uncle had it. But seeing it on there, it reminds me why I really enjoyed the Target novel a lot. And that could be one of the reasons why I enjoyed the story as much as I do, because that was my first exposure to it. But I also do enjoy the television version of it. It is, I think, well executed. And then the problem is, here's where we start going downhill, I think, for most people, is these last two stories, which very much feel like Williams-era stories. Underworld, I like. I know that is not the general consensus. Most people don't like Underworld. Now, to be fair, I've only watched Underworld once. A lot of the classic Who stories I don't own. I've only seen once. And I do think my opinion on that could change. I think anytime you've only seen an episode of Doctor Who once, when you watch it that second time, especially if it's been a decent amount of time since that initial viewing, I do think your opinion of it could change, just because maybe your memory of, like J&T said, the memory cheats. Maybe your memory of it is different than when you actually view it, or maybe you're simply in a different place in your life when you view it, so your opinion of an episode could stay the same. It could go up, it could go down. So I don't know. The next time I watch Underworld, my opinion of it may change, but I liked it. I thought the story was really good. I enjoyed the acting, at least from the Doctor. I liked the model effects. I thought the ship models looked pretty good in it. Really, my main complaint was the CSO, which I think is most people's complaint. The CSO is atrociously bad, and yeah, I can see if this is the story they do the effects upgrade for, maybe them smoothing that out, making that look better. The CSO is bad. Granted, the CSO is bad. But to me, the story was good. I enjoyed the story. So I am looking forward to the season 15 box set coming out. I do hope that's the next one, honestly. That would really make my day, because I do want to rewatch this story just to see kind of how my opinion on it changes. And then we have Invasion of Time, which I don't hate, but I do think it is Tom's weakest season finale. This is very obvious. The budget was out at this point. I think that's very apparent in the scenes when they're walking around inside the TARDIS, and it very obviously is not inside the TARDIS. It doesn't look anything like a TARDIS interior. That's really off-putting and takes me out of the story. Leela's abrupt departure doesn't make sense for her character at all with this, with this Time Lord she's hardly spent any time with. It's very, very out of character for Leela, and kind of puts me off of the story a bit. The villains that invade before the Sontarans do, where they just look like aluminum foil, basically, is not really well done. Now, I've never seen the special edition. I have seen clips on YouTube of the special edition, like comparing it to the original footage, and I do think if I watch the special edition with the enhanced effects, I probably will like it more. But going just by the original version, which I've seen, it does leave a lot to be desired. But it's not bad. I still enjoy it. The Castellan is still a whiny little sniveling weasel. as most of the Castellans are. Except for the Deadly Assassins, his is awesome. So, yeah, Invasion of Time, just, is the best I can give it, So that's my thought on season 15. It's a mixed bag, because there's episodes that have a Hinchcliffe feel to them, then there's episodes that have a Williams feel to them, and the quality just, I mean, you start off up here, and then you get, well, I've never seen Invisible Enemy, but I'm going to say the middle. Image of the Findal peaks back up. Sunmaker stays up pretty high. Then you have Underworld, which to me is medium, but I know most people's down here. And then you have Invasion, which to me is kind of on the low end, but not bad. It really does kind of seesaw a bit, much like season 17 does, where it just, quality just goes like that. So what do you think of season 15? Do you like season 15? Do you dislike season 15? Is it a mixed bag for you? Let me know what you think of season 15 and the stories in season 15 in the comments down below. I do have a Patreon if you would like to become one of my patrons and contribute to that. There is a link to that down in the description below as well if you would like to help me out and contribute to what I do. If you don't want to do that, feel free just to click the like button, click the subscribe button. I'm always trying to add more subscribers. My goal is to eventually hit 1,000 because that opens up so many more things I can do with the channel when I hit 1,000. You know, community posts, polls, things like that, things I can do to help grow my community down in the comments even more. Most importantly, though, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Thank you.